And that's when I said that you should work with someone like a Bhuvan Bam and Ashish Chanchalani. I mean, that was the first individual YouTuber campaign that a production house did. We stayed silent, I think, for 8 months, went out, signed every big gamer possibly there could be. In India, you can say that I can do anything. Right? You tell me you want Shah Rukh Khan, okay, I'll get you Shah Rukh Khan. There was a time where every video on YouTube was being sponsored by MamaEarth. Why would I listen to you? Because you're a sellout. You'll get 10 lakh rupees from anyone and you'll promote. To put it into perspective, I think they're modern day billboards. Even though the world might think that influencers make the maximum amount of money, we're still underpaid.
Hello and welcome to the Indian Dream Podcast. I'm your host Siddharth, and today we're going to be talking about all things influencer marketing. It's been hot for the last 2-3 years, and that led to questions in my mind. How do influencer marketing campaigns get executed behind the scenes? How do brands decide which influencers to work with? How do talent management agencies work with influencers to make sure that their brand values are maximized? And if just like me, you've been curious about all these questions, Pranav is going to help us answer all of those in the episode today. Pranav is the founder of OpraahFx, an influencer marketing and talent management agency that started 6 years back just when this market was starting to grow. Interesting fact, Pranav and his team were the minds behind the first collaboration in India between a Bollywood movie and influencers. Now it's commonplace and we see that for every single movie, but they made it happen for the first time with Fukrey returns back in the day. Since then, they've seen the entire ecosystem of influencer marketing explode and also somewhat saturated in terms of opportunities. That led Pranav to start a talent management agency focused on gaming creators. Today, OpraahFx manages India's largest gaming creators like Ujjwal Gaming, MythPat, and many more. In the episode, Pranav shared his experience of working in the world of influencer marketing and the kind of challenges that the industry faces today. He opened up about his thesis of focusing on gaming creators, and last but not the least, we talk about the future of influencer marketing and creator-led brands. If you're a geek about all things marketing, you will love this episode. And if you do, don't forget to subscribe. With that, let's jump into the conversation with Pranav. Pranav, welcome to the Indian Dream Podcast. Really excited to have this conversation with you, man. You've been doing influencer marketing before influencer marketing was a thing. It's been 6 years since you've been running OpraahFx. So I'm very curious because you've probably seen it from a very nascent stage to all the way where it is today, where it's gone through a huge uptrend over the last 2-3 years. So I want to understand first, 6 years ago, what was the thesis? What made you start an influencer marketing agency?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me on the podcast. And I've probably answered this question a lot of time, but the story behind why I started this was a genuine problem-solving statement for myself, right? Which led me to realize that there is an industry which is facing this problem, and India doesn't have a solution to it. So I started off with a YouTube channel just out of college, and I was doing supercar content. And this is the pre-geo time, right, where viewership, like 1 million views, would be you basically being viral on the internet, right? Like right now, 1 million views is not that much. And that's when we started doing the supercar content on the internet, and I realized that my like 4 or 5 videos sort of got viral, which I got lucky with. And when I saw my AdSense account, it was like 300 $400, and I quickly realized that the fame and everything is brilliant, but this couldn't be like a career option. Like I can't fuel. I can only probably fuel the cars with this sort of money, right? And just quickly realized, started researching on how do these Western YouTubers make money, and that's when I came across influencer marketing, started researching about it, saw that nobody in India is doing it, or probably very few people were sort of talking and figuring it out. And we started with a tech platform, something which a lot of these companies currently are doing. But then what happened was, and why didn't we pursue the tech platform was, we realized that the industry is so new that giving the industry a tech platform wouldn't be the right thing to do. Because like when we used to interact with these brand managers and everything, they our initial days we would have to explain them what influencer marketing is, right? My most of my time, I think my first 2 years was spent first of all trying to get everyone's attention, okay, this is important for you to do. And then the second bit was that, hey, this is what is the future is, right? And now it's a completely different story. I think now your USPs are completely different. You don't have to tell brands that what influencer marketing is and everything.
Yeah,
So yeah,
before we go talk about the journey itself on how the space has evolved, if you can help the
yeah,
listeners understand how this business works, right? Like specifically from
yeah,
an influencer marketing agency perspective, you're dealing with brands on one side, you're dealing with the creators on the other side. How does the entire value chain work
yeah. So basically, you want to understand like the talent management aspect or overall just
overall? Overall, and we then double down onto talent management as well.
yeah, so basically there are these influencer marketing companies, right, like ours, who would create campaigns for brands, right? And there are two sort of companies, I would say. There are one are your talent management companies and then your influencer marketing companies. Your influencer marketing companies are probably the companies who are very brand focused. They will work very closely with the brands, right? In developing campaigns for them and everything, right? And the value over there is these guys would like charge a certain commission on the total campaign, and or probably like a retainer model where they are monthly getting paid to do certain activities, right? Depending upon the SOW. And the influencers would charge like a certain fee, and when it's a talent management company, the talent management company sort of charges a certain commission from the influencers, right? So this is how like the sort of business model works on both ends.
So traditionally, advertising agencies, there have been big companies that take care of the entire marketing agency sort of mandate, right?
Yeah,
Was influencer marketing a niche that the legacy institutions agencies couldn't really figure out what was happening, and therefore a bunch of new companies popped up? Or help us understand that, because generally, whenever a new marketing sort of area comes up, it's these agencies, legacy agencies, that end up taking that business as well.
yeah. So I think the clear issue is that what the Gen Zs would call everyone in the legacy media was boomer, right? And they couldn't really wrap their head around like why do we pay someone, right, to
Hmm.
talk about us, like unless it's a celebrity. So the entire idea, and nobody believed that like like do people would even buy a product which is being endorsed by someone who's just famous online, right? So it took like I think good 3-4 years for that sort of audience to understand that there is so much potential in this space, and that's why I think they took so much time. But I think now they've sort of picked up because the entire space has become. I think we can touch upon that later as well upon the current situation.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I think it was just purely that all of these legacy media didn't have Gen Z audience working or employees working at their organization, and that was mostly, in my understanding, the reason for them not hopping on when it was just picking up.
Interesting. So let's talk
Yeah,
about what you said, the current situation. But before we go there, tell us the first 3, 4 years you're talking about a lot of educating the brand itself on why you need to do this, right? So what was the thesis?
yeah.
What were you using to convince the brands at that point in time that you need to do this? And give us a few, examples of the campaigns that you ran back in the day.
Yeah. So initially, so I was working. I was lucky enough to work with BMW in my early days, right? And because I was creating car content, and I think the first 2 years I continued to create content along with running the company, right? So I would give a lot of my personal examples that I worked upon as a case study, right? Like I worked with Mini Cooper, and so Mini Cooper is a brand of BMW, right? So Mini Cooper would have sent me a car, and I made like a video around it. And then I got a call from BMW, I think 3-4 months later, saying that we got 6 to 7 inquiries saying that we saw Pranav's video and we are coming and we want to buy this car. And I think there were a conversion of 3 to 4 cars as well out of those 10, 12 queries that came to them. So basically, it's like a 1.5 crore sales, right? Out of a video which probably would have costed them 100 to work with me, right? And this example I would take to multiple people, And of course, I think my first client was your Fukrey Returns, which is a movie which comes under your Excel Entertainment, right? The production house. So what happened was they usually would market, and this was like a very big, in my opinion, that why are they not doing this, right? They would associate themselves for movie marketing with all your legacy media, all your paparazzis, all your interviews, and all of that, right? They were not working with influencers. And I realized that how much like, a movie, to watch a movie, it would cost you around 300, 400, 500 rupees, right? And YouTube audience is someone which has this much amount of uh, buying power, right? If you sell them a Gucci LV, I wouldn't say that that's the perfect audience at a mass on YouTube, right? And that's when I said that you should work with someone like a Bhuvan Bam and Ashish Chanchlani, who was watching in 20, 30 million. And at that point, they would love to work with a mainstream celebrity and let's collaborate. You're reaching to, I think, probably 60 million people. And that's the best sort of. And that was the first individual YouTuber campaign that a production house did. And right now, you would have seen online, I think every movie that comes, there is influencer being involved, and major budgets or major campaigns are run around influencers.
Interesting. And
Yeah,
how did the space change? So this is the first 3 4 years where it's a lot of
yeah.
convincing the brands and doing new experiments and seeing it successful. And then last 3 or 4 years have been completely different in how it's taken off, right? Tell us a little bit about what that transition was for you personally as a company. What kind of changes you saw, and where do you think the entire ecosystem is at today?
So I think a lot of it is commoditized right now in a way that like influencers are not treated as like as I wouldn't say like in a bad way, but like they're not treated as like actual people, but they're looked at as like a name in the Excel sheet, as a commodity, as an item, and there is not much thought behind most campaigns. So it's like a fish market, I would say, uh, where it's like, अच्छा ये है मेरा इतना budget है, so give me इतने 10 influencers, right? Delhi के चाहिए, so give me 10 Delhi के influencers. Now, who are they? What content? What's happening? Nobody cares. Whosoever has the best relationships with the agency. And the biggest problem, like I said, the legacy media, when they came in, right? And they would have solid relationships with these brand managers over the last 10 years, 15 years, because they were working in print or they were working in TV with them. And suddenly they just added, okay, we have this new category which is influencer marketing, and we also do all of that. So suddenly they got access to that money, right? And they wouldn't know how to execute and how to divert this money, right? So it basically, in a way, nepotism came into play, and of course, there are some wonderful campaigns that come out of it, but mostly it's like it's really commoditized. Because my biggest problem, which I feel, is there needs to be a lot of thought being put, because it's working on a very surface level. I'll tell you an example. When I was creating content, I had a phase where I got really into sneakers, right? And I updated my bio as a sneakerhead, like cars and sneakerhead. And in a week, I got three reach outs from sneaker companies, shoe companies, that hey, we want to partner with you, and we want to do whatever sneaker collaboration. And I was like, wow, that's brilliant, right? But like my audience is a car audience. Nobody is probably like, I've not even developed a sneaker audience as of now, right? And that's what is happening. Like influencers have also become very smart. Just before World Cup, everyone will start talking about cricket, and everyone who's investing in IPL will think, okay, these are the right people, and suddenly, boom, these guys start getting the campaigns.
Very interesting. So you've told me that there are all these
Yeah,
talents are managed by a talent management agency, and there could be companies that are doing both, the brand as well,
yeah,
working on the brand side and the talent management side. But let's say 10 influencers work with 5 7 different talent management agencies. And on the
yeah,
other hand, there's a brand that wants to do a campaign, works with one marketing agency to run that campaign. Then the marketing agency is going to coordinate with these 5, 7, 10 different talent
yeah.
management agencies to make this happen.
Yep. There are multiple layers to it. Sometimes there are 4 to 5 layers to it, right? Let's say the brand would have a mandate with a very large, and this usually happens with really large companies, right? They would have an agency which would take care of 360-degree everything, right? And then there would be an impaneled agency under them that would the request for those, let's say, 10 influencers would go to that agency. That agency will pass it on to another smaller agency which is specific, like specializes in a influencer marketing space, and then that agency would reach out to the talent management agency. Then that talent management agency would reach out to the influencer, right? So
Oh,
it
wow.
sometimes happens on a really, and that's why the cost would also inflate by 4x. And sometimes brand would feel that, oh, the ROI is not that great on influencer marketing because we spent so much and we didn't receive so much, because in the first place you probably didn't pay the right price. So, but I think there is a lot of awareness now because talent management companies like us have like really good sales team, and we are also out there talking to every brand, and we are well placed and well established that they know that if we want these 10 people, these are the 10 people, like these are the 10 agencies we should reach out to. So, but someone who's new and probably just raised a $100 million round and probably doesn't know, everyone in this space doesn't have all the connections, then there are people who sort of benefit in middle as well.
I want to talk about ROI, but I have one more question to what you just
Yeah,
said. How
yeah,
do agencies win new business? Is it existing relationships where, because you never know what the brand is thinking about, what kind of launch
yeah,
they're about to do, right? So there's
yeah,
one part which is obviously relationships matter a lot in this business.
yeah,
But for you to work with a new brand, is it just being in touch with them and saying that whenever you have a next opportunity, let us know and we'll present an
yeah.
idea? How does it work?
It depends, but mostly it's price. So L1 is something in influencer space that you have the L1 cost, you're winning, right? But sometimes it's not just L1 cost, it's also relationships. I think recently I've been contemplating the fact that how important relationships are in this space, right? And some brands who really care about quality and everything would not really. They would care about turnaround time, quality of work, uh, and if the agencies are reducing their efforts, like they're doing the quality check on the brands and making sure everything is going on time, what they expect, and creating creative campaigns as well on their part. So I think those agencies tend to perform better, but like most times it's relationship and how cheap the cost is of an
When
influencer.
you say L1 cost, it's the cheapest cost wins. Is that what it is?
Yep. So there are bidding systems that happen like for larger brands where they have like a portal, and like they reach out to 6 to 7 impaneled agencies, and then you have to basically upload these costs of the selected 10 influencers, and whichever is the best cost sort of wins.
Interesting. Um,
Yeah,
when it comes to ROI,
yeah,
earlier days, I would assume because there was some novelty to the idea that Fukrey Returns is partnering with a Bhuvan Bam and Ashish Chanchlani, right? Few and far in terms of the influencer marketing agencies, there was more creative input as well on how to run these campaigns. Versus now, it's a lot more commoditized, as you've said, right? Both on the creative
yeah,
side of it, on what these influencers are supposed to do, what these creators are supposed to do, and like the number of campaigns that are being run at the same time. How has
yeah.
the discussion on ROI changed over a period of time?
Um, I think still like nobody, because the fact that maximum amount of money is still spent on Instagram is for me personally the biggest surprise, that ROI is not really being thought, especially by larger brands, because they're calculating ROI saying that okay, these much amount of views and this much amount of likes and comments or whatever, right? Because YouTube is where sales happen. YouTube is where ROI sort of happens. I, Instagram, like how do you convince someone to buy something in 10 seconds, in 20 seconds, in 30 seconds? It's impossible. And like most short form content creators, uh, some have some have been able to build like a connect with their audiences, but mostly it's for you. Even if I ask you right now, name me 10 of your favorite reel stars, right? Like I don't know if you can name, even if I'm in this space, like if you ask me, I can't recall somebody names, but like if I'm watching someone for 10 minutes, and for example, gamers, they stream for an hour, 2 hour, and if you're tuned in, you're sort of connected with that person's personality. And if that person tells me, okay, go and buy from Zomato or Swiggy, right? I am sort of convinced.
Hmm.
So the fact that still most amount of money is spent on Instagram makes me wonder, like, why are brands still not talking about ROI?
Interesting. So
Yeah,
are the brands being convinced by saying that, hey, this is brand marketing and you can't really, see the direct impact of this, but your brand awareness is happening, all of those things?
yeah,
Is that how the narrative is right now?
yeah, precisely. Yeah, yeah. Especially for, see, I think I'm talking from a lens of the people that I'm working with, but I think there is a whole different industry which is working with micro influencers and mid-tier influencers. I'm sure there would be conversations about, because not every startup or company can just pump in money and not care about returns, right? So younger companies, younger startups would experiment on both Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, and all these platforms, and probably double down on wherever they're seeing maximum amount of results.
Interesting.
Um,
So
yeah,
my personal sort of observation has been, the larger the celebrity, there is
yeah,
no direct sort of call to action saying that go do this, go buy this. Versus the
yeah,
more micro or mid tier, there is a code, and you
yeah.
use this code to buy something. And in that case, is the sort of compensation for the creator dependent on the kind of sales that you generate on that particular code?
Yep. That's affiliate marketing,
Got
and
it.
yeah, and that's because the larger influencers don't really pick work on affiliate marketing. But the younger influencer do pick up a lot of work on affiliate marketing, that if you're able to sell 100, 200, then whatever the amount is, I'll get a commission out of it. Yeah.
Okay. Tell me about a few case studies that you've seen over the last couple of years, because I know you mentioned a few that happened early in the day. But last couple of years, tell me a few case studies of companies who've done influencer marketing really well, and why do you think they were able to do it really well?
I think Daniel Wellington has been one big example, and that's been global about how well they've done influencer marketing, right? From being a digital platform to, I think, having store all across the world, right? Shein was a brilliant example, which I think they basically tapped into every single fashion influencer, lifestyle influencer that is out there possibly, and they've worked with them and have probably become, like, I think, multi-billion dollar company as of now. In India, I feel someone who's done influencer marketing brilliantly is MamaEarth, Wow Skincare, and I think Boat has done good work. And all of these companies, we've started working when they were just starting, because these companies also sort of started in the same time frame as Oprah. So, yeah,
Why do you think these companies, what stood out in your mind on how these guys ran the campaigns? Because Mamaearth, for example, does a lot of affiliate, right? Because there were
yeah,
a lot of people who were doing sharing the code for Mamaearth to get the 20%
yeah.
off. Tell me, why do you think these companies stood out?
Uh, in my opinion, I think first is they believed in influencers, right? So they really sort of pumped in a good, I think, majority of their money on influencer marketing, right? Like they didn't go for newspapers, TV ads, or anything like that, or billboards. They straight up went. to, because they wanted numbers to raise their next round of funding. They didn't want branding. They cared more about people actually buying the product. So I think there was a time where every video on YouTube was being sponsored by MamaEarth, right? The moment you open, and sometimes as audience, and there was a joke which was like the moment the video would start, the audience would know what the creator is going to say. Like the entire integration was being learnt by the audiences as well, because they would hear this integration so much about a product that it became like a phrase. So I think to answer the question, first they believed in this space, and second they went all out, and they did spend a lot of money. But then what they tried and tested everything, and now they've at a point that they know, like they've calculated CPV, which is it's not like you can go and charge anything to them because you're super famous. They're like, we know how much we should pay you and what will we get out of working with you, because they have so much data over the last 4 5 years that they're like, okay, you are this channel. They'll go through your channel and be like, okay, this much views, this audience, this quality, and I think I should pay you this much amount of money. So they're very smart now.
Which brings me to the next question. How is the compensation decided for the creators? Who's making these numbers up? Because when you look at print, when you look at media,
Yeah,
there's a set space. This is the space.
yeah,
This is going to be the
yeah,
cost, right? But there's no
yeah.
standard as such, or is there, that we don't know about? But tell us how has the journey been in terms of seeing these prices also rise, I guess, over the last three
Yeah.
four years. But is there any standardization on what creators charge based on the following?
Yes, of course, following is a big factor, but there are multiple factors that come into play for costing. Following is one, your how much is your active viewership or likes, for that matter, on Instagram is second. Then what sort of branding, which is something that is recently playing a very important role in deciding your cost is are you hanging out with celebrities? Are really famous people following you? Are tier one, tier two, tier three, which sort of audiences watches your content? And so all these factors sort of come together, and basically influencer gets to decide that, okay, this is my value. It's honestly like everyone decides it for themselves, that this is how much I'm worth, and they sort of put that cost out. And if they start receiving it, if let's say I say 10 lakh rupees, and everyone says no, that I know 10 lakh rupees not my worth.
Hmm.
But the moment uh, I say 10 lakh rupees, five people say, okay, I'm ready to pay 10 lakh rupees. That's my cost. So it's
Interesting. So it's a lot of iteration to figure out where it lands.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And I'm
yeah. And
assuming it's
secondly,
also
yeah,
changed. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, it's changed over the period of time, because you could say the biggest influencers sort of have set what the market would be, and now it's trickled down to, because now everyone sort of adjusts. Okay, let's say somebody with 20 million followers is charging 50 lakh rupees for a video. Now automatically, because every influencer is interconnected as well, and every agency is also interconnected. Everyone's talking about how much what. So let's say if the biggest influencer charges X amount of money for 50 lakh rupees, sorry, 50 lakh rupees for X amount of viewership, then the if I'm receiving 5 million less views, so I'll automatically bring it down to whatever, 30 or whatever.
Interesting.
So
Did it
yeah, yeah,
also
and that's
change? I know there are some category of influencers that have not been affected by the slowdown in the startup industry, but has it also changed where in the peak sort
yeah.
of run, a lot of brands or startups that were working with influencers were ready to pay a lot more versus now they're not ready to pay as much. Has the volume gone down, or have the creators also sort of dropped their prices in order to get more work?
No, the price has gone up. The price has, it's crazy how insane the prices have been now. But of course, like I think the last 2 quarters, I would say people would have adjusted their cost a little bit, because just how the market slowed down and everything. It's not that uh, people would not pay. It's
Hmm.
just very few people are ready to pay now.
Got it. Interesting.
Yeah, yeah,
Because you've been so close to this journey, has there been any point where you're like, even I can't figure out if this cost is worth it from a brand's perspective, on how fast some of these costs have risen, and when it comes to ROI, has it ever
yeah.
felt like it's going to be impossible to justify ROI at this scale?
I mean, sometimes I feel like a lot of too much branding comes into picture, and then I feel like this cost is not justifiable. But most times, I feel every cost is we're still underpaid.
Interesting.
Is what I feel. Even though the world might think that influencers make the maximum amount of money, but most people genuinely bring superb value.
Hmm.
But some people have cracked the game in a way that they've understood what works and what doesn't, and they've focused too much on that particular aspect and not much on content creation,
Hmm.
more on, like I said, who follows me, and how my PR team is, and how if I'm on the cover of Vogue or all of that, and even if I'm getting 20,000 likes, but I am the shiz, and
Hmm.
that would probably get you more money. So that's where I feel like that's again we're losing the essence of influencer marketing and moving back to celebrity marketing,
Right.
right? From which we were trying to differentiate 6 year back when I wanted to do this. The idea was we're different, right? We
Hmm.
are people who regular people or everyone could connect to me
Yeah.
because, yeah. And again, I'm building myself into a personality that, I am untouchable, like I'm,
Hmm.
I'm, I'm way above, I'm different, I'm a celebrity.
Hmm.
Uh, but I mean, you can't change. Nobody can do anything about it. Like that's
Yeah.
just, yeah,
I guess it's now become a cycle, not a cycle, but like a path where you start out as an influencer, but the goal is to become a celebrity, right?
yeah,
Because you do get paid significantly more at that celebrity status. I'm sure
yeah,
that's happening. Tell me a little bit about how do you think the market pans out in the future, in the near future, both from the brand side and the influencer side, right? Because there are just so
yeah,
many people out there creating content, and if you look at Instagram today, there are thousands of people with 200,000
yeah,
followers, 300,000 followers, even 1 million followers. There are a bunch of people
yeah,
out there, right?
yeah.
Do you think there is too much competition in that sense, and only a certain kind of influencers will win? Will the brands pull back, not being able to justify the ROI? Where do you see this going?
The brands will never pull out
Hmm.
till the time most platforms start running away from influencers, which will also not happen.
Hmm.
So brands will continue to spend. Money will flow to very few people, um, unless realistically, I think it'll reach the top 20% only.
How do you define the top 20% now? Is it just pure quantitative numbers on the followers and everything? Is that how you define it, or something else that a creator has to do to now stand out?
Again, Max, a lot of factors, which agency you're working with, what sort of relationship this agency has with the brands, how your PR is, your social circle is, and a lot of that will play into picture, into you getting work.
Interesting.
How good your relationships are with platforms, and yeah,
Thoughts on
and
micro influencers?
love it. Um, I think that is an interesting space. I'm not sure in terms of how rewarding it would be. But yeah, I think micro influencers, lot of I'm just waiting for somebody to disrupt the micro influencer space. If I wouldn't have been too deep down in the macro influencer space, I would have attempted at doing something there.
How would you disrupt it?
Uh, with mostly, I think a solid sales team and a solid tech, right?
Hmm.
What is happening right now is tech is good, but they don't have solid sales team. So why do people come on YouTube and not any other platform? Because I upload a video and I get money out of it, right? Why are people not uploading long format videos even on Twitter? because you don't get monetized. I think now they've started
Hmm.
monetizing, but still not as much.
Yeah.
Um, so just like that, if you built a solid platform and every major platform will say that I have 100,000 influencers with my platform, but you're still, if there is a campaign and you still have to call that influencer to say that, hey, there is a campaign, the entire point of a tech platform is killed, right? So unless you have basically every spender on your platform,
Hmm.
right? And influencers are micro influencers looking for, because they want to build something and they want to reach the mega influencer, but to do to achieve their goals, they need little amount of money that could be 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 to pay their bills, rent, makeup, everything. They would need constant work, right? And I think a mix of solid tech and brilliant sales uh, is probably the only way you could disrupt the micro influencer space.
And do you think micro influencer is going to be more geared towards getting transactions done on these brands versus the quote unquote branding activities?
Yeah, I think a lot of good value could be created, because imagine like you as a person, right? And you have 5,000 followers and you have a hobby, let's say it could be cycling, and you're very passionate about it apart from whatever work you do for business. But you have that 5,000 audience, friends, family, and some new another passionate people about cycling who came across your content, and then you talk about it with great interest, right? It's not just ki arey, because I want to get virality, or you're just doing out of passion. And then you talk about Firefox, and you're reaching a very niche audience. And even if Firefox pays you 10,000 rupees, you're able to convince two or three people, could be friends, family, or some really close person. I think solid ROI for Firefox,
Hmm.
right? And imagine if brands are able to do this one conversation with hundreds of people,
Right.
right? That's 10 lakh rupees spent,
Hmm.
probably a crores in sale.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Versus in the macro influencer space, that probably means one mid level influencer at best, right?
Yeah, yeah, mid-level, and you don't even know, like, you just thought, like, oh, a million views, but nobody cares about cycles out of those million. And
Yeah.
even if they care about cycles, why would I listen to you? Because you're a sellout. You'll
Yeah.
get 10 lakh rupees from anyone and you'll promote.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
There are
there's no
so
connect.
many, there are so
Yeah,
many quote unquote celebrities or, these large influencers where if I go on their Instagram, these are not native Instagram creators, right? Native Instagram
yeah,
creators still create a lot of content that's without any, selling anything.
yeah,
But there are so many quote unquote celebrities that are just, when you go to their reel section, it's one ad after the other. It's just one
yeah,
ad after the other, right?
yeah,
And at that point, I do believe as a intellectual high paying audience, do I really listen to them? When I listen to them, do I really get influenced anymore? Probably not, because I know he's running
yeah,
his
yeah,
business in some way or form, monetizing his image
yeah,
right now. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I think to put it into perspective, I think they're modern day billboards,
Hmm. Interesting. That's a very nice way
right?
of putting it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like, हाँ ठीक है मतलब
Brand hai.
1 2 3, हाँ
Yeah.
like brand है, अगर मेरे को interest है, I'll research about it, I'll buy,
Yeah.
but like
Yeah. और उसमें भी then it
solid,
comes
yeah,
down to, as you said, billboard. There are some billboards that catch your attention, right? Because they're very
yeah, yeah, yeah,
creatively done. So if you can do
correct,
that, then you might still
yeah,
stand out. But if it's
yeah,
just, wear this headphones
yeah,
and I'm running,
yeah,
I've
yeah,
seen it enough, right?
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think that's the best way to put it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah,
Okay. So you did something interesting while you started out with influencer marketing agency. At some point there was I won't say a pivot, but you started focusing a lot more on gaming as an ecosystem, gaming creators. Tell me a little bit about that decision, on what made you go in that direction.
yeah. So again, I think two really big reasons. One, I just realized that the entertain because I was active and big in the entertainment space, and I realized too competitive, too saturated, very less innovation. Money was good, but just the soul wasn't feeling amazing about whatever we were doing. Um, and big because I've been following Western content for I think the last 10 years, 15 years, and I've seen the journey of four people creating gaming videos in a garage to creating one of the largest brands in the West, right? Out of gaming, where they're able to block 4 to 5 streets because they're dropping a merch or something, right? And thousands of people are coming and buying because that's their fan base out of their clan. So I knew the potential is big in gaming, but we knew that there's nothing that's happening. There are no gamers, and I think during the pandemic we started noticing the because we had Activision as a client, right, and we were working with them, and they said, "Hey, we wanted to work with some gamers," and of course we went to research and we found out, oh wow, PUBG back then is big, and there are people who are actually sports athletes, and we started working with them. They were again because they were new, they were charging nothing against what they should be, right? And we realized big space. Let's hop in, and we stayed silent. I think for 8 months. Went out, signed every big gamer possibly there could be, and yeah, I think, and then we started a and because gaming agency and there were no gaming brands as such in India, right? So all our clients would have been like Singapore, US, or Saudi, because these are where all your gaming developers are. So we started OP Gaming, which was like a gaming division because globally companies would like to work with niche companies,
Hmm.
like not general companies, right?
Right.
In India, you can say that I can do anything, right?
Yeah.
You tell me you want Shah Rukh Khan, okay, I'll get you Shah Rukh Khan, right? Globally, no, 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 no. I don't want Shah Rukh Khan from you. I want someone who has an expertise in celebrity associations or anything, right? India again, relationships. Tu mera dost hai, lekar aa jao, please.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So we created a specific agency for that, and we got great response. We ended up working with every big title because they were also looking at India as a big place. PUBG was doing raised everyone's eyebrow globally, and that's probably the reason we started, and I think it's been great as of now, and we've continued to be a big player and continue to do more in gaming. Now we're just probably entering, we're going to announce, I don't know when this podcast comes, but probably a week or 2 weeks down the line we're going to announce something in esports as well. That's very exciting. um, and yeah, we plan to do the same, build a really big brand um, uh, out of gaming.
I want to double down on the gaming ecosystem and everything that's happening here. But that one point where you said you went out and signed, for 8 months you just went out and signed every gamer out there. And
Yeah,
this question probably applies both from signing an influencer or signing a gamer. What do these guys look at? What's the pitch to them for them to say I will work with you and not somebody else? In gaming,
yeah,
it might be slightly different because you were early enough and you were one of the few people. But in general, when you're working with creators, what are they looking to say? This is the talent management agency that I'm going to go with versus somebody else.
yeah. So now it's completely different now because I think every company has sort of been branded as they're famous or good at something, right? Let's
Hmm.
say there are agencies which, if you're an Instagrammer, reeler, then you'll be like, oh, they have the biggest reeler, so I'll probably go and work with them because they know how to monetize the reel content. There are travel agencies, they'll be like, oh, I have travel influencers, so I'll go and end up working with them, right? Honestly, the work is overall the same.
Yeah,
It's just how it's perceived, and it's most
position.
influencers feel comfortable working with people who have similar type of content creators signed with them. Are any, because we didn't have any gamers, so we couldn't say that, hey, we work with this gamer, this is our case study. So we didn't have any case study to show, but we had entertainment, and the work that we have done in entertainment was a big case study, and we sort of were known in the space, right? So I think our goodwill from our past work sort of helped us transition really well into gaming. And able to sign these gamers, right? No, because there was again, I was able to be the first gaming agency in India as well, right? There were a couple of them, but very, very small work they were doing. And so we entered the space, early mover advantage, I would say. And yeah, the type of services, the team structure, the support that we were giving, nobody else was giving.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So
And this whole phenomena again is probably in the in the limelight over the last 2 3 years with the pandemic, gaming sort of esports gaming, all of it shot up. Are you now a full stack agency in terms of working with the gaming brands to say I will run the campaigns for you and also having the talent management on the other side?
yep, yep, yep. We are full stack, both gaming and influencers now.
Okay, got it.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
Um, Tell me about the gaming ecosystem in India. What are these creators making a living out of? Is it just competitive esports, or is it entertainment plus gaming as that genre where hey, I have a connect with the audience because of while I'm playing the games, the kind of interactions that I have, or is it something else?
So I think there are two, three types of segments into gaming, right? The type of people we work with as of now has been entertainment content creators, gamers, right?
Hmm.
They're more focused towards creating gaming content, and there are some agencies which work closely with like your esports athletes,
Hmm.
right? People who are competing, probably representing India or a certain organization. Um, and then there are just streamers who stream day in, day out, could be casual games or competitive games.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Got it.
So these three type of people, and then of course there are multiple ways of revenue. Again, AdSense, super chats, integrations, brand promotions, starting
Hmm.
their own brand.
And one of the things that you mentioned earlier on, which is there's a deeper connect that these creators have with their audience because of how long that they're interacting with, right?
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about understanding that unique insight, and how did that happen for you to say okay, let's double down on this.
Yeah, so the biggest example for me was so we signed on this gamer called Ujjwal, who's now world's
Huge.
India's, I think Asia's biggest gamer.
Hmm.
And I think last week we got to know about this metric, which was he has the most amount of watch time as a YouTuber in Asia. So
Wow.
and the interesting thing that we noticed in his analytics was he would upload 40-minute videos, right? Not streams, 40-minute videos, and his retention would be 70 to 80%.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's huge.
So we just realized thereon itself that this is different, right? We have seen entertainment, 10-minute video, people would drop off at like a 3 minute, 4 minute skip and watch quickly because they're looking for entertainment. Any part which is not interesting to them, they'll just bounce. But it's different in gaming, I think, purely because gaming in itself is interesting, right? Even if it's a gameplay, people are just watching. And plus, if you have an interesting personality, it's even more reason to stay hooked to your content.
A common sort of discussion that you probably have is who is this audience, right? For somebody to sit and watch a game being played by somebody else, is there a
Yeah,
certain younger audience that's captive for these people, and therefore the kind of brands that we can sign up and work with are also targeted toward the younger audience? Or is there an insight on like there's a different audience that's sitting and watching these games that we just don't know about?
yeah. No, I think it's obviously the younger audience, right? It's your school kids and college kids, in my opinion, are the maximum amount of people. Esports gets some mature attention as well. And probably people our age would also be like, oh wow,
Yeah.
nice gameplay. I would like to see what's happening. Content creators, on the other hand, gets attention from your 13 to 24, I would say.
And the brand work then they
Yeah,
that they
yeah,
do is
yeah, yeah,
also then
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, but also it works good in their favor because like major brands are wanting to target that audience.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah, Yeah,
Got switching gears a little bit. One of the things that we discussed earlier is this concept of creator-led brands. There have been, classic examples in the US, in the West. Prime is obviously one of the biggest examples that came out of it. In my mind, a commodity product, but marketed really, really well because of these two
yep,
influencers who are behind it,
yep.
or creators who are behind it. Do you see the same sort of trend happening in India, with creator-led brands?
For sure, for sure. I think it's already begun. There are companies who are helping creators build brands. There are people and agencies like ours who are, I think, working behind the scenes and trying to build these companies. Of course, India doesn't have the type of infrastructure or attention. Again, I think I would say we are in that phase where I was 6 years back trying to explain everyone that hey, influencer marketing is important. I think we are in that. I feel I'm in that moment again where I'm trying to tell larger conglomerates that hey, like I know you're big, you could sell whatever, develop a brand with me, and we
Hmm.
can do better, right?
Hmm.
And the problem is, oh, if I want to work with you, I might as well just pay you. Why share equity or why? These are the
Hmm.
conversations we're happening. So I think, regardless, we won't stop, and we'll crack, we'll prove it, and eventually, 3 years down the line, you're going to see multiple, I wish billion-dollar brands, but multiple minimum 100 crore plus brands coming out of just pure influencers.
And these be established products that have some commoditized manufacturing behind the scenes that you can tap into and say that hey, somebody else without the brand, without a large creator is creating this product. We can create the same product from the same manufacturer, from the same third party manufacturer, but have the creator as the face of it, and therefore it's going to work much better. Or do you think innovation in terms of products is also going to happen from a creator perspective?
Innovation will happen because audiences are too smart. Audiences know the math
Hmm.
behind what's happening, what everyone's trying to do. Everyone knows how what is Mama Earth, what is Bota, right, and how they're manufacturing, where they're manufacturing from, and what they're doing, right. It's very transparent because we read comments, we go through everything. So it's not like you can fool today's audience, even if they're kids. They're very smart.
Probably
So
because they're kids, they're smarter than some of the older audience who's not as
yeah,
evolved in terms of what's happening.
yeah. They know like what's happening, and we'll have to be very cautious, and we just can't be like, okay, we'll put our label on top of a product and we'll sell it to you, and because you love us, you'll buy it, right? I think there needs to be innovation. There needs to be some essence of why this brand uh, is about me, right? There needs to be an essence of the creator inside of the product or the service. And that's probably it's my way of understanding that the brand will succeed. I think one of the biggest reason why Prime is such a big hit because the product is good,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? I personally have not tried it, but I've read so many reviews, and I think not all reviews can be bought or purchased
Yeah.
or manipulated. But major 90% of it has been really amazing. That the product is tastes good and feels good, and I think great marketing hype was also around it. So I think if the product is not good, I can't be like, okay, uh, just buy it because I have a big fan base. Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah, that might be a very short-lived sort of strategy in terms of building a brand, because brands generally take years to build and then sort of
yeah,
captivate and then capture the value
yeah,
of once establishing
yeah,
that trust.
yeah,
Very interesting. So do you then see, because obviously a creator is busy creating content, right? So
yeah.
do you then see the agencies working with the creator to do product innovation, and therefore the kind of skill set that's required to build these brands is going to be slightly different from what's happened so far?
Yeah, yeah. So I think marketing will be completely different because you'll see some really surprising marketing coming out of these brands because they're not like your legacy brands and they're
Hmm.
more free to do things. So that'll be a breath of fresh air, in my opinion, because major brands think of themselves as like everyone wants to be Apple, so we can't do certain things, right?
Yeah.
Uh, risk taking is really low, and but here marketing will be completely different. They'll go all out. It'll be content creation in a way, right?
Hmm.
And that's what people will love, and that's what it'll be super new for everyone to see, watch, consume. And I think one of the biggest factor for these brands to success is how marketing is going to be done around them.
Very interesting. Pranav,
Yeah,
this was a fascinating conversation about all things influencer marketing,
yeah.
gaming, and all the fascinating work that you've done over the last 6 years. You've been early in multiple of these trends, and as we discussed, you're early on another trend of gaming as one of them and creator-led brands. Very excited to see where you go from here. Thank you so much for taking the time out.
Thank you so much, man. Have a good day.